Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Richard III, and we get to hear from Queen Elizabeth again in what the folio calls Act 4, Scene 3, what other versions call Act 4, Scene 4, because passage of time, all of that sort of thing. So after it has sort of been determined that Margaret has the greatest woe of all of them and she has left, Richard comes in and he had a little fight with his mom where his mom curses him and says that she hopes that he loses this impending war against Richmond. And then he's left talking to Elizabeth, and he starts talking to her about the daughter, Elizabeth, who Queen Elizabeth was the wife of Edward, who died. So she was the mother of young princes Edward and Richard, who Richard hired somebody who had them killed. But now she still has his daughter left, Elizabeth, and Richard thinks that he needs to marry young Elizabeth to sort of cement his place on the throne. He's gotten rid of Clarence's kids in other ways. He just like hid the son away and he married the daughter off to a nobody, so they shouldn't bother anyone. And in this back and forth with Elizabeth, she doesn't want this to happen. She very much doesn't want her daughter to have to marry Richard. And seriously, can you blame her? And she was sort of ripping into him and saying, no, she doesn't want this to happen. She doesn't want this to happen. He's like, no, this is going to happen. And I'm talking to you because I need you to teach me how to woo her. How can I win her over? And Queen Elizabeth is like, you can't win her over in any way. And he's like, oh no, and you're the one that knows how I can win her over. So tell me. And she's like, all right, fine. You'll listen? And he says, yes. And Queen Elizabeth says, send to her by the man that slew her brothers a pair of bleeding hearts. Thereon engrave Edward and York. Then happily will she weep. Therefore present to her, as sometime Margaret did to thy father, steeped in Rutland's blood, a handkerchief, which, say to her, did drain the purple sap from her sweet brother's body, and bid her wipe her weeping eyes withal. If this inducement move her not to love, send her a letter of thy noble deeds. Tell her thou madest away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, aye, and for her sake made quick conveyance with her good Aunt Anne. So this is a monologue that's dripping with sarcasm and facetiousness. What she's saying, like the overall sentiment is that there's no way that he's going to be able to woo young Elizabeth, but she goes about it by sort of listing off the things that he has done that are offensive to young Elizabeth, being the murder of her brothers, primarily the murder of her brothers. She's like, why don't you just take a handkerchief that's stained with blood and tell her to use that for comfort at the fact that her brothers are now dead. Or she's like, why don't you write her a letter and tell her how you killed her uncles and how you killed her Aunt Anne so that she could become queen, because that'll do it. That'll make her want to marry you. And Richard is like, you're mocking me. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he has a rebuttal that starts off, well, you'll see tomorrow. He's got a rebuttal to what's going on. So yeah, this was a short one today. Leave comments if you want. Tell me if you think he's going to be successful in marrying Elizabeth, and or tell me what you think is going to happen with the war. I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.